You know, the month of March has turned into like one of my favorite months of the year. And no, it's not because I have a birthday in this month, because I don't, but it's because it's Women's History Month. So please allow me just to take a moment and say happy Women's History Month to all the different women that are out there. No matter whether you're the CEO of a company, a stay-at-home mom, or anything in between, thank you, and understand that this world we live in today is different and it's better because of contributions like your own. You are appreciated. But today, I've been given the opportunity to have a conversation with a woman who is having influence right here in Mercer County, New Jersey, where I'm located. Her name is Sashida Rodriguez. She's a licensed psychotherapist, also the founder and the owner of Healing Grounds Wellness Center, where I'm located. So Healing Grounds actually focuses on providing services to people specifically in the area of depression, anxiety, trauma, and a multitude of other services. So today's conversation is really just to help educate you guys about how to better handle some of these areas so we can support ourselves and also the ones that we love so much. So I can already tell you today's conversation is gonna be good. I stick around if I were you. Just saying. What's going on, YouTube? Welcome on into another episode of Conversations Sin Fronteras. I am your host, BJ Odita. For those of you guys that are new, make sure you hit that subscribe button. This channel is for you guys. You know, this is a channel that I've made to bring conversations that are meant to help you guys grow, to advance, to be better versions of yourselves, to be ready for a stronger tomorrow. So that's what this is all about. I had the great privilege of being accompanied by my tia. You guys will know her as Sashida Rodriguez. I call her tia because that's my tia. She's special. For my people that don't speak Spanish, tia means aunt or auntie. And the theme of today's conversation is going to be based on mental health. You know, we're going to go over a different range of topics. And the goal is really just to educate you guys about what's available, the resources that are there. And just to bring awareness, you know, in an area that I'm so thankful now has a lot more awareness than it did many years ago. So I want to give you guys the opportunity to meet my tia. Tia, how are you today?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here. Cool. And just to see where the conversation goes.
No, likewise. Well, thank you for being here with us. Thank you for giving us some of your time.
Absolutely.
And I'm looking forward to enlightening, you know, our viewers today with just more information about mental health, how to be stronger, how to support our loved ones, you know, who are also, you know, just dealing with different kinds of areas of mental health. So appreciate your time. Topic. I am actually here in your office. This is an absolutely beautiful office. There's so many different rooms that you guys have here. So before we even get into the interview questions, like I want to just give people the opportunity to learn about just the names of some of the different rooms, you know, what the meaning is behind each room, what they're made for. And we'll start with that and we'll get into some interview questions.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for actually coming to our home here at Healing Grounds Wellness Center. Because I know the other day you were actually on the opposite side of the seat, right? And we were actually interviewing him.
Yes.
So Healing Grounds actually has various rooms. We actually created Healing Grounds with the hope that people would actually seek healing.
Okay.
And it was created with Healing Grounds Wellness Center as a holistic approach. Okay. Meaning that we focus on the emotional, the physical, the mental, you know, and one of the biggest things, and spiritual as well. And one of the biggest things is that for us it was very important that each room had its own unique style. Okay. You know, and that's why you see all the rooms that they're all different.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we do have the Sunshine Room. That was actually the very first. That was actually my first office.
Okay. The Sunshine.
We were in a smaller location, and then it was just Sunshine, and it was just created. And underneath each name, it has like a little scripture. Okay. You know. It actually means something. So sunshine is pretty much like just bringing joy. You know, so when you walk in, it's all yellow and very nice and bright, like the sunshine, right?
Gotcha. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then we have the other room, which is the golden hour. And the golden hour is pretty much that sunset. You know, it's like this orangey kind of look and feeling as far as like when the sunset is setting and, you know, just that feeling. It was very important for us to make sure that the clients, when they walk in, they're not walking into just like black and white, you know, like walls. They're walking into kind of like a very comfortable setting where they could just feel like if they're having a conversation like in their own living room. Okay. And that's why you see like the sofas, you see the chairs. It's just like a very relaxed, you know, atmosphere. And we make sure that we don't have like the overlights on. It's a very like comfortable setting. We also have the Hopeful,
Okay.
which this is where we are,
Right, the
nice
Hopeful
and
room.
purple.
Yes,
And this actually used to be a meditation room.
Okay.
And this is where we would actually bring clients just so they could have like some type of downtime and just be.
Wonderful.
And then we have the shore,
Okay.
right? Just like the name says it, it's the shore.
Right.
And it's like very beachy, right?
Yeah, I like the blue in there.
Yeah,
Was
it's
very
like
cool.
a bluish
Yeah.
color. You're like
Yeah.
at the beach. It has like rocks.
The
and-
shells on the wall.
Yes, they
Yeah.
have like the shells. So it gives you that feeling. And then one of the, well, not the last room, we also have a kiddie room.
Okay.
For our little ones, right? Because the littles also need love. And they also have mental health as well, right? So we also have, it's the playroom. And we just have fun. It's the fun room.
Okay.
And that's where they go in. They have therapy. We do play therapy. And that's also because children, it could feel very intimidating coming to this location.
Right. Yeah.
So
Of
we
course,
have that.
Yeah.
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 And the other one that we have is actually Healing Hearts, which is my office.
Okay.
And you have like the green, very like serene.
Right.
And again, very peaceful room, and each room has its own
Wonderful.
color.
Yeah, I realized that too.
Yes, yeah, it's just very unique.
Right.
Right,
There's a theme behind each room.
Yes. Yes,
Right.
there's a theme, and we wanted to make sure that no room was exactly alike because we're all different.
Right. No, I
Right, we
like
come
that.
from different cultures and everything else. So for us, it was important.
Okay.
And then we have our last room, which is the Anthony's room.
Okay.
Very, very special.
Right.
This room is actually our podcast room, and it was created in honor of my son Anthony,
Okay.
who passed away 8 years ago due to an autoimmune disease. So we created it in his honor because there's always a story behind the face,
Right.
and it was created to be able to tell stories,
Right.
and to be able to capture, people's heart and their mission in life. So
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, wonderful. No, I like that. I did catch, like I said, like the theme per each room.
yes,
And I think it's so wonderful. Like, let me ask you. So when people come to receive services, is there do clients have the opportunity to choose a room they'd like to receive services, or they'd like to receive counseling in, or is it more so, are there designated rooms specifically for counseling? Other ones are specific. Like I know you said this used to be used for like meditation.
yes.
Like, is there like specific rooms?
Yeah,
for-
so unfortunately, no, they cannot pick their rooms. It
Okay.
depends on the clinician.
Okay.
So for the most part, like each clinician has their assigned room, their assigned office, and that's pretty much like if they're dealing with a specific client, then they would be working, with that specific clinician.
Okay.
So it just depends on what room the clinician is assigned to, and yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. And how long have you guys been here now in this building?
Oh wow! So we've been here, I want to say since 2024.
2024?
July
Okay.
2024.
I thought
No,
it was- I thought
actually
it was
2023.
2023. Okay, yeah.
20,
that's what
yeah,
it said.
time
That's
is
what I remember.
passing.
Yeah, yeah.
2023, we've been here. Actually, June 2023. We were at a smaller location out in Yardville, and then we moved here, and yeah, we've been here
Wonderful.
since then.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
No, very exciting. We're happy
Yeah.
to hear that.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember you coming to the inauguration as
I did.
well.
Yeah, I
and-
do.
Yes, that was an exciting time. But
Very
yeah.
exciting. Yes. Cool, cool, cool. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into some of the questions.
Okay.
All right, and I will say to our viewers, we're not going to cover everything, as it relates to mental health, but the goal is to try to give you guys, some insight, to bring some light to some of the topics, some of the areas of mental health, and, why not do it then with somebody who can speak to that. So thank you, Tia. So Tia, starting with the first question I want to share with you, from your experience as a licensed clinical social worker, what are the most common mental health challenges you currently see, and why do you think they're so prevalent currently?
Wow, there's like so many of them, but I would say that the main ones are like anxiety, depression, trauma. A lot of people come with trauma, grief,
Okay.
and also relational disconnection. Like those are some of the main ones that people are coming for, and also identity.
Okay.
Self-esteem. A lot of people, they don't even know who they are. So sometimes they may come in and they may be like, I just need help, but I really don't know exactly like what are some of the areas that I need to, kind of work on. And I think they're so prevalent because of the fact that, everything, like we live in a very fast-paced environment.
We do.
It's just like social media and this is going, so we don't really have time to kind of just pause and process our emotions.
Yeah. I agree.
And I think back to COVID, right? That's why there was like an influx of challenges because of the fact that people didn't know what to do with themselves. Right? So now we have so many emotions actually kind of like, rising to the surface,
Right.
but they were always there.
Right, exactly.
And it just like COVID allowed us to kind of pause.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree
And
with
then
that.
we started to see like much more people like supposedly having anxiety and depression and all these different things. But people learn how to
Right.
kind of function in the dysfunction.
Yeah.
But
Which
yeah.
also is not the most healthiest, means of management either.
Absolutely.
Because I
not.
mean, like you said, you have a lot of people who take stuff, they push it underneath the rug, and they say, "Well, I'm fine." Are you really fine, or you're just learning how to? You're learning how to teach yourself to be
Yes.
fine, kind of thing.
Exactly.
And I definitely agree with you. Like I feel like since 2020, we've now seen all this influx of just people coming out and talking about mental health. And it wasn't always like that before. I feel
Absolutely.
like, yeah, I mean, like you said, and depression's not new. We could talk to people who were
Oh my
born 3 and 4
goodness.
decades ago
Yes.
who dealt with
Yes.
dealt with episodes of depression. People who've dealt with situations where, even being younger and maybe sharing it with a guardian at that time, whether it be your parent or
Yeah.
somebody else. And
It's like
"Oh, you're fine."
depression.
Yeah.
You better get over there and go wash
Exactly.
those dishes.
Yeah, exactly. Go take a bath. Get some fresh air. Like you're fine, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yes. It wasn't taken serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you on that in terms of, and then like you said, like just the uptick in like depression and anxiety cases.
Yeah.
It's very real. And sometimes you don't know what's going on out there until you sit down and talk to people.
Absolutely.
You know?
And you realize that the person next to you is actually battling the same struggle that you're battling.
Yeah.
So yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I actually had a conversation with somebody last week, and I was telling them about this YouTube channel, talking about what I do. And I told them, I said, what's so funny? I said, the older I get and the more people I talk to, I said, one of the things that stands out to me so much about people is just how fragile we are.
Oh my goodness.
It just blows me
Yes.
away. It really,
Yeah,
it blows me
we
away.
are.
And it's like, you talk to people, you realize, like you said, oh my gosh, you do that too?
Yeah.
It's not just
It's
me.
like, oh my
Like,
goodness, really?
yeah.
It's like we can relate now, we're buddies.
Yeah. Like you said, it's like, this is
Yes,
flesh. Like,
yes.
this is like,
We're human.
Yeah, this bleeds if you actually cut
Yes.
it. Like, and that's what gets me. Like,
Absolutely,
it makes me,
yeah.
like I said, it really does blow me away just how fragile we are as people.
We are.
And, it's at the same time, it just makes you laugh. Like, wow, a conversation, counseling, therapy, just being open about what you've been experiencing, about that can literally do wonders. It can save lives. It can lower the amounts of people that we see getting into just craziness in the world. You know what I'm saying? By just having a conversation, having a place where people can go and just release
Yeah.
in a healthy
absolutely.
manner. A healthy manner. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with you on that. For people who feel trapped in mental health struggles, what are some things that can be challenging for them challenging for them in getting the help that they need? In your
I
opinion?
think, I want to say it's like shame. Kind of like what you were just saying a while ago. It's like that shame as far as like fear of being judged. So because of the fact that it's not normalized,
Right.
we live in this society that because of the fact that it's like it's shameful to say that I need mental health, help.
Right.
Then those are some of the challenges. Like people just, shame you for going to get, the help.
Right. Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, but I would say that those are like the main things. And you don't know what you don't know.
Right. I agree.
Right. And I think people also think that, therapy is just about like just talking to people. Like you're just going to go and, you're just going to talk. You just pick up the phone and call your abuelita or call
Right.
your friend. And,
Right.
No, therapy is like so much more. There's like interventions. Like think about it. Like for 50 minutes, this therapist has to be on.
Right.
Like you have to provide active listening skills and you're mapping and you're tracking information.
Right.
It's like Steve Jobs says that you can only connect the dots looking backwards. That's what therapy is. So a lot of, these suppressed emotions and everything else, they've been there.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But we don't know that they've been there until we actually start to kind of unpack.
Unravel. Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. And have some of those conversations. No, I definitely agree with you on that. All good points there. When someone is grieving the loss of a friend or a family member, what are some things that we should keep in mind when dealing, with that person who is grieving?
I love that question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So grieving. I mean, some of the most important things is to realize that there's no timeline to grief. Grief is pretty much like the price you pay for loving someone.
Sure.
Right? So when we put all these expectations on people as far as like, hurry up, move forward, and, there's no timeline.
Right.
So it's important to pretty much like sit with the person. The power of presence is so important. You know, so when we're talking about grief, and every single person, they grieve differently.
Right. I agree.
You know, so one person may pretty much manifest in anger,
Right.
Someone else may be emotionally numb, you know, and they're like, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Like, nothing's wrong with me. This is the way I'm grieving, right?
Right.
And also, like, I think that because we're so uncomfortable with grief, Bejota, I call him Bejota, by the way.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, that's BJ for my people that don't speak Spanish, Bejota. So
Yes.
learn, aprende en español.
Yes. So for Bejota, it's kind of like people don't realize that because of the fact that we're all grieving differently, you know, people are uncomfortable with grief.
Right.
So what ends up happening is that because you're uncomfortable of seeing how this person is grieving, you want to push them along
Right.
very quickly. So it's kind of like get over it.
Right.
Right. But there is no getting over grief. It's pretty much like you learn how to survive and move forward with the grief.
Finding a new means of management. You know,
Yes,
in your
you're
day-to-day.
finding like your new normal because you don't know who you were, you know, when grief actually hits you, right? Nobody taught you how to actually function. So it's kind of like you're developing into this new person
Right. I
that
agree.
you didn't even know.
Right.
So, yeah.
No, it's very true. That's a good point. You know, I can never just to kind of speak to that. You mentioned Anthony at the beginning.
Yes, I
And
did.
for my viewers who don't know who Anthony is, as you mentioned, Anthony is her oldest son who did pass away 8 years ago due to a autoimmune disease that he was dealing with. You know, and I always like to remind myself, may not be with us physically here in person, but continues just to live on, you know, in our hearts. You know, just to kind of speak to what Tia was just talking about, Tia Sashi. I remember when Anthony first passed, and obviously, yes, initially everybody's very sad and everybody's, you know, very heavy-hearted, and then time goes by and time passes, and I would definitely say for myself, I was kind of like in that window of kind of like, okay, do we talk about him? Do we not talk about him?
Yeah.
Do we bring him up? Do we not bring him up? Kind of
Yeah.
thing. And you know, these are all new experiences, you know, and these are things that people don't really train you for. You
Yep,
know what I'm
they
saying?
don't.
Like these are things we don't talk about these things in high
Nope.
school. These things are not discussed in grade school. So
Yeah.
as a result, what happens? People go through life and they get into these situations where they see somebody who's lost a loved one, or that person himself has lost a loved one, and they don't know how to they don't know how to respond.
You don't know how to navigate,
Right.
right? 'Cause
They
it's
don't know
like,
what to say. They don't know how to
Yeah.
act.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Yeah, so you're learning the new norm.
Yeah.
Right? It's like a whole new norm. You're learning how to function. You're learning how to just learn who you are without this person. So we have to give people grace and we have to give people time, you know, and understand that it doesn't have a timeline.
Sure.
You know, and you mentioned something as far as like you didn't know how to act. And one of the biggest things that it's so important, the power of presence, showing up.
Right.
You don't really need to do anything, just show up.
Right.
Right? That's huge. And also just being able to say their name. Like people don't understand that when there's grief and there has been immense love, ignoring that the person existed,
Right.
that is just such kind of like it's insulting.
Yeah, I
that
agree.
that would be like the word that I would use. It's insulting because that person existed. So say their name,
Right.
ask them questions, you know, and just be able to understand that everyone is different.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And I think also too, what I would even say is, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to be honest. Hey, I don't know. You know, sometimes I don't know what to say. You know.
Yes.
And listen, I just want to give you a hug right now. You know, I know you're
Yes.
going through something. I don't know what to say to you, but I'm just going to give you a hug, and I'm not going to try to make up something because I really don't know what to say. Just be honest with people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, even when you see that person going through something, yeah, it may be difficult for them to be able to navigate. But one thing people will always appreciate, and no matter in what sphere, no matter what you're doing, not even just mental health, is authenticity.
Oh my goodness.
When you're
yes.
being real,
That's so true.
people know when you're being real.
Yep.
Like I think about the old phrase, real recognizes real. It's the truth. And you know when somebody's being fake,
Yeah.
you know when somebody's making something
Yes.
up. I mean, and it's like, so just be real with people.
Yes.
Have a, you know, do what you can, stick to, you know, like I said, operate within your means. And when you don't know, when you truly are lacking,
Yeah.
be honest, you know.
Yeah, and also don't, you know, I hear people say like, hey, if you need me, let me know. Let me know
Okay.
what you need. That is such a question. They should take it out, the English dictionary.
Yeah, I know.
People don't
Yeah, I
know what
agree.
they need. They don't know. So give people options.
Right.
Do you want the mayo or do you want the ketchup?
Right.
Do you want to go out or do you
Right.
want us to just sit here and watch TV?
Right.
You know, one
Can I
of the
bring you
things.
some dinner? Or
yeah.
Like, yeah.
One of the things that we had developed as far as like within our family unit as far as like just checking in with each other because we were all grieving all at the same time. So we pretty much would be like, if we saw someone having a moment, for us having a moment, it's like, you're tearful, you're crying, or you may just be like in silence.
Okay.
And we would just say like, do you want to be, left alone, or do you want me to sit here with you?
Right.
And that was that.
Okay.
Yeah, that was that. And it just made such a difference. Like respecting where people are.
Sure.
It's so powerful.
And then, like you said, everybody grieves differently. And like you said, not even just family to family, it's person to person.
Yes.
And I think that's also really important. A good point that you touched on. Just because somebody may be the son of somebody or the daughter of somebody doesn't mean the daughter and the parent are grieving the same way. You know what I'm saying? So also just being mindful of that.
Yes.
So,
I
'cause
could
we're all
speak
different
so
people.
much on that, but yes, absolutely.
Yeah, no, absolutely. When people struggle with anger, what we initially observe is the anger, but what is usually something beneath the surface that deserves more attention or understanding?
Ay, ay, ay. You're touching on some really good topics, by the way. So anger is just like so superficial. That's like what we're seeing. That's like the manifestation.
Right, it's the face.
Yes, of what's really happening underneath, right? So
Right.
we have these primary emotions, we have secondary emotions. Anger is secondary,
Okay,
right? It's just pretty much what's being on display,
okay,
right? You see a person driving like a maniac and they're angry,
okay.
right? They're cutting through people and they're getting, let's say, like loss of control because of the fact that the car is going in front of them.
Gotcha.
Maybe there's something else happening underneath.
Gotcha.
Right?
Okay.
So it could be maybe loneliness. It could be, feelings of control, of disappointment. There's so many different things that come up.
Okay.
Embarrassment. They feel hurt. Hurt is a huge one.
Okay.
Right? It's trauma. So when people come and they say, oh, this person has anger management, or they need anger management, it's not that they need anger management. Maybe let's explore, peel back the layers and
Right.
figure out like what really is happening underneath. Right? Because whatever is happening underneath, that's the issue. But Jota, I always say the issue is never the issue,
You're
right?
right.
People come in and they give you all this content about this person did that to
Right.
them. And no, maybe they're lonely, right? And they're actually looking for, something. They're searching for people to actually see them, to hear them. And they don't get that. So it's pretty much more the anger.
Right.
We have to explore that and peel back the layers and be able to see
Yeah.
like what exactly is happening underneath, because there's a world of emotions underneath, and there's something called the anger iceberg.
Okay.
And the anger iceberg is exactly that, right? You think about an iceberg and we're just right there at the tip.
Okay.
We're at the tip of the iceberg, is right there. That's the surface level. But I always say that the anger is more like an umbrella.
Okay.
And what's happening underneath, it's like when you start to identify like all these other,
Okay.
emotions and stuff. And it's like, oh, maybe they don't have anger. Maybe we need to process through the trauma that they've been through.
Okay.
And then we'll be able to understand really what's coming up. And once they start to process through that, it's a whole different person.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really powerful. Yeah. I'm still stuck on the very first thing you mentioned between the primary and the secondary.
Yes.
I just love the terminology.
Yes.
Everything you said made sense, but it's like I've never thought about it from that lens, from that window.
Yes.
And I just like the terminology, like you said, because as you speak, like what I think about is anger is almost the blanket. And when you lift the blanket, what? You can see everything else that lies
That's underneath. Yep.
that comes about.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
like you said, you hear these terms all the time. Well, this person just has anger issues. But we never talk about the why.
Yes.
There could be things going on with, another relationship, another
Yes.
person. It could be the loss of a loved one. You
Yes.
know what I'm saying? It could be, multiple different things. I once heard a guy speak at a church that I went to for I went to a church with a friend of mine, and the guy was talking about same thing, like people who've dealt with addiction. And he talked about how, for the same concept you just mentioned, a lot of times people look at the drinking, they look at the pornography, they look at, substance abuse, whatever the case may be, and they say, well, this person just has this issue. And he said, a lot of times for the same thing, those are primary, things that they see on the surface, and there's other things going on that maybe
Absolutely.
have led this person to, that
Yeah.
specific addiction. And what that addiction is really doing is they're using it as a coping mechanism. Obviously, it's not healthy, and that's why, people want to seek out the right services to get on the right track. But like you said, maybe not just fall into what we see initially, but let's dig a little bit deeper, find out what's going on behind, the surface, what's going on, behind the scenes.
Yeah, there's a great book by Oprah Winfrey, and I believe that her and a neuroscientist, they actually came together
Okay.
and made this book. It's called, What Happened to You.
Okay.
And I want to say it's by Perry as well. And it's about like not asking the question like, what is wrong with you, right? When we see someone that has anger issues, we're like, what is wrong with that person? Like,
Sure.
what is happening? And it's like we can easily look at people and be like, yo, what's wrong with that person, right? But it's more about asking the question as far as like, what happened to you?
Sure.
You know, because once, as I said, before, when you start to peel back those layers, there's always a story behind the face,
Right. Exactly.
behind the curtain. And when you start to really understand the story, you can understand the reaction. Not that the behavior is okay,
Right. Uh-huh.
right? We're not pretty much, condoning this behavior and actually engaging with it.
Right.
But it's so important to really understand like what is happening behind,
Right.
the curtains.
Right, the comprehension of it all. Because when you comprehend, then we can kind of map out, hey, listen, we're going to work our way here, we're going to work our way there. Because again, if you don't know what you're working with, then how can we come up with an effective plan to be able to help that person be better? It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
So, no, I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
According to this website, it's the abbreviation samhsa.gov. It says SAMHSA.
Yeah.
Yep. It says approximately 50 to 52% of adults with mental health conditions receive professional help. However, one of the things I thought about, this also means that nearly half don't receive it and could potentially benefit from services such as therapy and counseling. Tia Sashi, what can be done to motivate others to access these types of services?
Wow. I think education, educating, you mentioned it at the beginning, right? Is that these things are not taught. We talk so much about physical health, right? We say,
Eat
this
well,
person
work
has
out.
diabetes, this person has a heart condition. But once we say like this person has mental health, it's like we're all of a sudden it's like we're talking about a foreign, taboo topic.
Right.
But everyone has mental health.
Right.
Like if you think about it,
Yeah.
you have spiritual health, you have emotional health,
Uh-huh.
you have physical health.
Yeah, exactly.
And education is just so important for us to be able to bring awareness in terms that this is very, very common. And I think also, I think representation is very important. Because sometimes people, because of the fact that they do not understand what mental health is, being able to find something or someone that maybe looks like you, understands your culture.
Sure.
Culture is very important. One of the things that we actually provide here is that holistic approach.
Okay.
Right? So the holistic approach is that we don't leave culture out the door.
Okay.
Culture comes in with you, right? Because for example, I remember I had a client a few years ago, and I remember when she saw me, she said, oh my gosh, she said, I was just so excited to meet you because I finally found someone that looks like me. And she was saying as far as like even her spiritual, growth as far as that goes, like her spirituality and being a Christian and everything else. So it's representation is just so important, and also being able to be culturally aware that people need to have therapists that maybe looks like them, understands them, because you're dealing with all these different things, and all these various components. So I think that would be helpful, but definitely education.
Right.
I would say is one of the top ones.
Yeah, and I love what you said about finding people who look like you.
Yeah.
Because what does that really create? It creates an opportunity for people to feel like, man, I can relate to you.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Or we look like each other, or like that's really important.
Yeah.
Because if not, people feel what? Almost like the thumb that sticks out, the odd person out
Like I
kind of
can't
thing.
tell you certain things because you're
You
going
don't
to judge
get
me. Yes.
Yeah, you don't understand
Yes.
me. Yeah.
Yes. So for example, right? We live in America, of course, and
Right.
hugs. You have to be very, in America, we have to like have our space and, there's no touching and hugging. Now, listen, if you walk into a Hispanic house and there's 20 people, you know what's going to happen.
Yes, you're going to hug.
You
them,
have to
kiss.
hug 20 different people,
I'm
whether
about to
you
say,
know them or not.
Everybody.
Yeah,
Because
everybody
if you're
gets a hug.
Van a hablar mal de ti después.
Yes.
They're going to talk bad about you afterwards. Most people don't know what that means.
Yes, they're going to be like, that guy, ese muchacho vino aquí, and he was just so
No
rude.
me saludó.
Yes, and that becomes a thing.
Ajá.
So,
El tipo me cayó mal.
yes, that is so true. So we have to be mindful, right, of culture. So I have clients that they come in and they're Hispanic and they'll be like, "Te puedo dar un abrazo?" And some of them will ask, or some of them will just like give me a hug and a kiss, right? However, maybe if I was fully American and Western, culture,
Right.
it would be like, oh, I need my space.
Right.
They have violated my space. No, there's no violation going on here. It's just that
Yeah.
it's culture.
Right,
So
exactly.
I think, that's why I said representation is just so important to be able to bring all that in. It's not that you cannot deal with someone that's from a different culture. Absolutely not. We're very diverse. And if we don't
Right.
know, we need to ask the questions.
Right, right. I
Right?
agree. I
So,
agree.
yeah, I get excited about this topic. So,
No, it's a great point. It's a very good point. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, finding people who you can relate to. I agree.
Yes.
Anxiety can manifest in very subtle ways. What are some signs that people might miss in others or even themselves?
Oh my goodness. These, I would say, like thoughts.
Okay.
Just like the thoughts just keep going and going and going, and then the next thing you know, like you're catastrophizing, and so you start thinking, racing thoughts. Also, some people have difficulty sleeping.
Okay.
They're very restless. They feel very fatigued, tired. Sometimes we feel that anxiety is just about like panic attacks, but it's not just about that. It could manifest in those specific ways. All of a sudden, like you get this thought that, oh my goodness, I'm going to die. And then from I'm going to die, then what's going to happen?
Okay.
And then that thought connects with another thought. And then
Right.
you have all these racing thoughts. And it's like you cannot pretty much like stop the thoughts.
Okay.
So once you start to feel that, or if not, let's say, for example, like you start to feel like even physical, right? You start to feel like your heart is pounding, and, you feel very uncomfortable because of a situation that occurred and you just cannot stop thinking about it. And you start to have all these racing thoughts.
Okay.
That's also a form of anxiety, So those are pretty much like the main ones. Or even people, what ends up happening is that, they may be like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm having a heart attack.
Okay.
Numbness in your body, difficulty breathing,
Right.
and all of a sudden it's like palpitations, right? You start to have all these heart palpitations. You go to the hospital, and then they're like, yeah, you're not having a heart attack. It's pretty much like an anxiety attack. Yeah.
Wow. So like
And
you
it's
said,
more
very
common
subtle.
than you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more common than you know.
I agree. I think there's more people in our world that we even encounter on a daily basis. People who are quote unquote look healthy and whole and all like they got all their ducks in a row kind of thing, that deal with depression and deal with anxiety and
Yeah.
they're just not aware. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and
Or-
it's become part of our norm.
Sure.
Right?
Or they found ways to deal with it, whether in a healthy manner, sometimes maybe not even a healthy manner.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't seek out services like this one here at Healing Grounds. Like you said, but I think there's a lot more people in the world that deal with it more so than others.
Absolutely.
Yeah. On your website, Healing Grounds website, there's something that you guys have listed, abbreviated as EMDR.
Oh yeah.
So I looked at the meaning of it. It says the eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing.
Yeah.
So desensitization and reprocessing through eye movement, gently reprocessing traumatic memories. If you can just give us a little bit more of an explanation. That was something, out of everything that was listed there, was one thing I didn't know what it meant. Yeah. If you can give us more of an
You're
explanation.
doing some
or example
research on
of
us.
what it works, yeah, please. Just
You're
help
doing
me
research.
Just a little bit,
Yes,
a little
okay.
bit. Yeah. 'Cause I had to come in with, and so we can have an educated conversation.
Yes,
That's
yes,
all.
I get you.
Yes.
Yeah, EMDR is pretty much like eye movement,
Okay.
desensitization and reprocessing. And it pretty much, think about it like there has been trauma, like there was a traumatic event, and what ends up happening is like the memory, pretty much creates like this emotional reactivity. So it's kind of like the memory is kind of like stuck in your brain. And through EMDR, we pretty much provide, it's like a tapping, and it's a bilateral stimulation, like
Okay.
with your eyes. And what it does is that you go through a series of events in terms of what has happened, and it's a whole intervention that we do. But it pretty much allows you to be able to, you still have the memory, but the emotional reactivity, it decreases. So you can be at a 10, and it can go down to even a 2. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Okay.
So it is something that is used specifically for trauma.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and only trauma. That's not used for some of the other areas of
It
mental
could yes, it could be used. It depends, right? So
Okay.
you may have a patient or a client that may have, let's just say, severe self-esteem.
Okay.
And they come in maybe with self-esteem, and then as you're working with them, you start to see, again, you peel back the layers, right? And you start to see that self-esteem was created
Okay.
from maybe a critical voice due to their early upbringing.
Okay.
You know, so there's attachment issues that occurred. So, and then when we start to, again, peel back the layers, we start to discover that there was trauma involved, right? So we may be like, okay, they have self-esteem issues, but no, there has been some sort of trauma. So most of the time it's attached to something that happened, you know, in their past.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wonderful. So now you guys know EDMR. Now you know what that means.
EMDR.
EMDR. See, I thought I knew. I'm coming. I'm
Yes,
coming along.
but you're there. You're there.
Yes.
You're close.
What are some recommendations or advice you would give to someone who wants to pursue a career in therapy and counseling?
Just do it.
Just do it. I
Just
like
do
that.
it.
Nike, just do it.
You have to be passionate.
Okay.
You know, you have to be passionate about this profession. This is like a no joke profession.
Yeah.
You're listening to stories, you're mapping, you are connecting with people's story, and you have to be able to be empathetic. You have to be able to be a good active listener.
Right, right.
You have to be able to sit with people's stories and really, really treat them with care.
Right.
You know, for us, it's a privilege. And I tell my clients this all the time. It's a privilege and honor. It's a platform that we get into someone's lives. So this is not a profession for everyone.
Right. I agree.
Okay, you have to be able also to disconnect from people's story and also live your own life because we're humans. And I would say that if someone is trying to, you know, get into this profession, I would say definitely do your research. Make sure that this is actually something that you want to do. Shadowing, maybe going in for an internship. But it is something that it is for someone that has extreme compassion and wants to be able to help people.
Right, right.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I completely agree with that. Yeah, I tell people all the time, passion is so important, you know, especially, you know, before you even get to the career itself, there's a process of preparation, the education aspect.
Oh my goodness.
You can't just like it.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, think about the time you put in, the exams, the testing.
Oh my goodness.
After testing,
Yes.
hour after hour, week after week, like
Passing the boards.
Yeah.
And you got to pass another board.
Exactly.
It's a lot.
That's what I'm saying. Like, and all these different things just to be able to arrive to this one moment where you can actually start practicing. You know, and I tell people all the time, if you're not passionate about it, you're not gonna get through. Because
Yes.
having a liking is not gonna drive you through.
Yes,
You know?
because you have to be able to really understand people, right? And if you're not passionate as far as like the healing process, because it's a process, and you have to be patient, right? You can't
Correct.
walk in there and be like, okay, well, Tommy didn't want to fix himself, so I'm done.
Yeah.
No, you're walking through people's lives and their journeys, and you have to be patient.
Right.
You know, you have to be patient and really dig into what really is happening with the person. So, yeah, that's pretty much the advice that I would give someone if they're interested in, you know, going into that
Do
profession.
your research, be passionate. Yeah. Come into
Yeah.
it if you're passionate. And I would say that even if you're not passionate in this, that's okay. Keep looking. Because everybody's
Absolutely.
passionate in something. I think you just have to be willing enough to, like she said, do your research and find what's out there for you. Because there is enough space for everybody. So if not in
Absolutely.
this industry, if not in this field, just keep looking.
Yes.
You know, be patient. It will come to you.
However, if you are passionate about this field, we definitely need more Hispanic, psychotherapists.
Okay.
It's so needed because
In general, you're saying.
yes,
In the field.
general,
Yeah.
we definitely. So if you out there and you speak Spanish, you know,
Yeah.
speak to Bejota. He can tell you how to get in contact with me.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, and
we'll have her
interview.
information down in the comment section for you guys as well.
Yeah, and I would say also like interview other, you know, therapists just to see like how you were saying, like if this
Talk
is
to people.
something that you want to do, or maybe you just want to explore. And if it's not for you, it's okay. It's not for you.
Right. No, I completely agree with that. Wonderful. Thank you. And you know, if there's one message you wish everyone could understand about mental health, what would it be?
Oh, there's so many different messages. But I would really say that it's so important to discover who you are. You know, we all have mental health. And when we think about mental health, we should think about that it's just very normal, right? And we all have some sort of, you know, challenge that we all go through. And it's just important to seek help.
Right.
You know, if you're having challenges and everything else, seek help. And we have to try to normalize it. That's
Right.
basically, you know, what I would say to someone. You know, do your research, seek the help that you need. Because it is something that is so important. You know, I've been saying a lot recently, even I was teaching the other day, and one of the things that I said was that there's so many people that they go to their grave and they don't even discover who they are.
They don't do anything with their gift or passion.
Yeah, they don't pretty much know who they are because they've had so many challenges, self-esteem and depression, anxiety, and because of the lack of seeking help, because of maybe taboo, or they feel that it's not normal, they pretty much just go on life. And you don't have to do that. You don't have to live life, with all the various challenges that you're going through. So it's just so liberating to be able to really discover who you are and be able to be free from, those challenges. And you would be so surprised. They could be simple stuff. They could be things that maybe need to be reprocessed, but it's just important. So seek the help.
Yeah, I love that. That's wonderful. Guys, this is a conversation we could literally open up for 2 or 3 hours. There's so many different things that we could, dive into, and just a lot, even some of the things we talked about here today, there's just a depth to it that, like I said, would just require so much more time, but I really hope that out of all the information we share here today, that you guys feel a little bit more enlightened in this area on the importance of mental health. If not for yourself, maybe there's somebody that that you're thinking of right now that really could benefit from some of the things we talked about today. So as always, I'm going to encourage you, hit that share button, share it with somebody else. You just never know. There could be something that we've mentioned in this conversation that could change somebody's life. It can make the difference between a person who goes forth and gets the help that they need so they can be healthier and whole and be a better version of themselves, or something else. So like I said, don't be afraid to share this information with somebody else. For anybody who does want to get in contact with Tia Sashida Rodriguez, find out more about Healing Grounds. Her information, like I said, I will have down in the comments for you so you guys can find them. You do also, and I know you mentioned a little bit at the beginning of our show, you do have a podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
So the name of my, yes, absolutely. Thank you for the plug.
Yep, no problem.
Yeah, it's so Conversations with Z, and it's called, it's pretty much, we keep the conversations real and raw. That's just pretty much what we do, and it's just we bring on different guests to talk about trauma, their stories, and just how people have actually healed throughout those difficult moments in life. So
wonderful. Yeah,
so subscribe.
Yes, absolutely. Make sure you guys check it out. I'll make sure I have the comment for it specifically so you can find the YouTube channel for that, because they are on all different platforms. It's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and anything else I'm forgetting?
I think those are, we have also some clips and stuff as far as on TikTok, social media, but those are pretty much the main ones.
Great. So like I said, guys, stay connected. If you have more information, you can definitely get in contact with her. If you go into the episodes, especially if you're on YouTube, you may see somebody that looks like me. So that's my brother. That's my brother BJ. This is Behota. So I'm just letting y'all know. If you see BJ and he looks like me, that's just now y'all know I have a twin. For those of y'all that didn't know. But, most importantly, guys, thank you for your time. Tia Sashi, as always a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Behota. This was so much fun. But thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
See you guys later. Take care.
Again, guys, I hope this conversation has been helpful for you, and most importantly, that it's giving you knowledge or giving you more knowledge in an area that's vital to our well-being as people. Tia, this message is specifically for you. I just want to say that I love you, and it is my great privilege just to be able to see all the wonderful things that you're accomplishing in your life right now. I'm going to share with you one of the things that you've actually said to me before off air is that a lot of times people see the end result, right? They don't know the story behind the story. The long days and the long nights and the studying and the sacrificing and the moments where you just wanted to quit, right? Well, here we have Healing Grounds Wellness Center because you decided to keep going. So I just want to remind you, Tia, you're doing it. Keep going. I love you as your sobrino, your BJ, whatever you want to call me. I'm always in your corner and I'm always supporting you. I love you, Tia.